I mean, I've been there a long time.
How long have
30
you
years.
been there? 30 years.
30 years, yeah. So, I mean...
So a little bit about you. I mean, most of us know who you are. You're from the East Coast. You've been down there.
Yeah. And my life changed. Whatever I was doing prior to that, it changed. I entered the Jesuit order, and they sent me to Mexico. And that's sort of where my education began. So any education up until then, I think, was sort of was meaningless.
Formal education. Now you're kind of talking about a more meaningful spiritual.
So I go to Mexico, and I'm working with these women, and they bring me Franciscan nuns, and then they invited me to go into a prison. You know, and in the prison, this is like in the early '80s, and it's filled up with Salvadorans.
Huh. In Mexico.
At the border. So these are Salvadorans that are trying to cross the border and come to the United States.
Yeah.
You know, sort of the long exodus. You know, and I was working prior to that in California with the Jesuits in Los Angeles. I didn't speak any Spanish at all, so I didn't have a lot of language ability. I didn't, but it was really funny, you know. Like I really understood what they were trying to tell me. But the fact is, they were being tortured, and I started learning about the Salvadoran War, you know. And by 84, 81, I mean, you know, Salvador's being bombed on, you know, civil war here, and it's a war that really is a war against the poor. You know, I mean, it's sort of like this dividing line between those that have and those that have not. And the United States was sort of maybe lack of contact, maybe not knowing, but chooses to support, you know, dictatorship after dictatorship. And of course, at the end of the day, people are being killed. And like any one of us, I mean, if someone's bombing us, we're getting the hell out of here, and we're going, you know, north, south, east,
wherever
west,
you can go.
wherever you go. So they did, and you know, it's really funny. People get really hung up on like God, who's not God, whatever. Does God exist? And then a very simple passage in the New Testament, you know, when I was a stranger in a foreign land, you let us in. So we begin to understand God through other people, you know. Instead of looking up, we start looking to the right, we start looking to the left, and really recognizing that these people have value and dignity. And these are refugees, right? And of course, the United States is not allowing Salvadorans in the United States. It's not going to happen. Because, I mean, they're in charge of the policies that are creating, you know, the reason for exodus. So anyway, we became part of the Underground Railroad, which was a very significant period, I think, in the history of U.S. church, where synagogues, churches, mosques, people said, wait a minute, you know, let's stand by these people. So we started helping people cross the border. And like yeah, I mean, you know, it's not like one major thing happens.
Right,
in
no,
their
that's
life.
what I'm just thinking. Like,
Welcome.
These are the kinds of things I can.
Again.
Don't worry about it.
Oh, okay.
Stick to the story.
So anyway,
You got a good story.
super significant, man. Like all of a sudden, you know, we're part of this Underground Railroad, and you know, again, we think to some degree we're helping people because it's the right thing to do, right? It's human, it's decent.
Because if you were in that situation,
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, and one way or the other, though, our immigrant families kind of went through the same way, but we weren't bombed on. You know, and my family probably came because they were hungry, you know, or wanted a better job. So anyway, stranger in a foreign land, you know, that's how you understand God, and so I was really fortunate to meet these nuns. You know, we lived in a little cement house on an edge of a cliff in Mexico, and we never knew who I was going to sleep next to the next day.
which nun you were going to sleep next to? Is that what you mean?
He's a movie star. I'm not this kind of. No, it was every day there were different people there. You know, we're bringing people across the border.
No, it just sounded fun.
And we were really fortunate, man. And all of a sudden, we talk about learning. I guess some, the more religiously inclined, would use the word evangelization. So we were like being evangelized by people, you know, learning about their war. And we got more and more involved, you know. Eventually, I was arrested and I got kicked out of Mexico, and then sort of my story goes on that I was invited by the Jesuits to go to El Salvador. And again, I had no idea what life would be like in El Salvador. And I've been there almost 30 years, and I've never really made that decision. Like most of us, most of us in our life are like, I'm going to be here in a certain place 3 years, and then move into a 4-year track.
The plan.
I still have a plan.
I got a plan. I always got a plan.
I'm 53, and I don't have one.
Yeah.
And I still wake up and, what are the possibilities? I can still dream and imagine. Failed at a lot of things,
Yeah.
But you know what? I think Dorothy Day talks about the founder of the Catholic Worker Movement. He was like a real influential person for me. Being in contact with the people that I'm fortunate to be in contact with allows me to maybe be less selfish, and it makes me think about. Thank God I have him, because I think I could be just a real fucking asshole. I think by nature I'm probably a real fucking asshole.
I've seen it come out during baseball season.
All right.
Maybe.
Okay. So I think there's a selfish person, and yet there's also someone that as a person of heart, and so we get to do this. So the war goes on, 1992. Just a short version of the whole thing. We start this sort of community and my whole thing was about healing. Everyone. War destroys people. It's like I had a lady tell me once. She goes, "You're blessed when the bomb hits you right on the head, because then you're gone. And un solo vergazo, one shot." But the people that remain, and my heart was with ex-combatants, men and women that fought and they were kids that fought in the war. And eventually, many of them were so far gone that we started working with the kids, and that was really the beginning of the Town Window community. We spent the first couple of years digging up the dead, burying people, family members, and then from there, we're involved in human development, education, mental health, recreation. We even started a national hockey team.
So